Hello, everyone. Welcome to AI Marketing. Today, joining me, Jon Mest of ChatRank, and we're going to talk about all the different things to getting discovered with the new AI LLMs and agents and all the stuff that's coming. So, I want to ask Jon a lot about all that stuff. But before we jump into it, Jon, would you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Jon Mest, originally from the Philadelphia area, now make St. Pete, Florida, my home. But yeah, I've worn many hats in my career, starting on Wall Street all the way through to, leading technical sales teams, being a developer myself, data scientist by training, and it kind of led me all towards, the last few years, the idea of, brands and how it gets discovered in AI and how this can like be the future of, brand visibility and search. And so a lot to cover, a lot to talk about, but super excited to kind of dive into it and really kind of share my kind of somewhat unique background in this space to kind of that led me to get here.
Okay, so I'm going to take a different approach this time. I'm going to let's look out 3 years. I know that's hard, especially with AI, the speed of AI here. But tell me, how do I get discovered in 3 years if I'm a business?
Yeah, so we're going to jump right into kind of that stage. But so, frankly, in my opinion, the agentic world is going to be much, much, much more commonplace in 3 years from now. So the idea of your brand being relevant and discovered is really about how well you prepared your brand to kind of talk to and interact with these agents. So if you're a brand in e-commerce and you're selling things online, you need to make sure your store is well equipped to handle, and talk to and interact with like people's call it personal shoppers.
Do you, do you
If you are
think do you think it'll be a different type of website in 3 years that only agents can understand and see and read? Why do I need a big, beautiful website then?
It's a great question. Actually, there are a couple companies out there that are right now exploring the idea of having AI only websites in addition to your call it your human websites.
Yeah.
And so that is something people are already exploring today. And so I think absolutely that's going to be a thing. We're actually we're dabbling with this right now ourselves, but the idea being how do you communicate? Communicating with AI is very different than communicating with humans. And frankly, I think we'll still need both for we call it the foreseeable future. Three
Hmm.
years just seems like a light, like so far away in AI terms, but absolutely, I think there is going to lean towards like having an entire like brand entity online that is just for agents.
Do you think these AI agents will have a preference based on how easy it is to work with you? Do you think they get to that point, or would they not care because they're just AI agents? Do you think I guess would they optimize for efficiency so that if you did have the best AI agent website, whatever that is, it would rather go to you than to somebody else?
I think there's two parts of that. There is actually the am I are is my website set up for efficiency so that you don't have to use as much compute to like talk to me. That's I think
Hmm.
probably a very valid concern over the long term. But really, I think the more important thing is say you are selling products online. Are your products well tagged? Do they have the right content? Do they have the right information in an easy to kind of digest way? So these agents don't have to spend as much time asking back and forth. They can actually just go right into your site, see what they need to see, and retrieve the information they need and never have to like really interact. Like
Yeah.
that's the ideal. And so the smarter brands are doing that already. I'm sure we'll talk about this, but like the idea of purchasing and shopping in like ChatGPT has announced that everyone's going to be doing this. The idea of like direct shopping through these right now the LLM platforms, eventually agentic, like the brands that are succeeding in that are going to be the ones that really kind of lean into the structured information that around their products that makes it even easier for these agents to understand what's going on.
Okay. So let's walk. Well, wait, before we move back into our current time frame. So in 3 years, how much of e-commerce is being done through AI agents? Would you guess? We're not going to hold you. We're not going to call you in 3 years.
Yeah. I would guess probably I'm thinking about my own life, like having like a young family and like how I purchase. Like I'd say at least half of my purchases are going to be easy to just automatic agentic systems like purchasing for me. Absolutely.
Okay, so half. I'm going to say it's 75, only because it's so much easier. I use AI agents now to shop for things. Just using the LLM's AI agents, and those aren't that powerful.
Yeah,
So
they could be clumsy at times, but yeah.
yeah, very, very, very. But still, I see what's going to happen. They're going to iterate on these over and over and over and over again until they master it. And then they're going to
Of course.
require, like Google did, they're going to require a certain framework for the AI agent to be optimized to work better. So it'll send you more business. Is what I'm
I
guessing.
I agree. I mean that at least OpenAI has hinted at that already with their they kind of
Okay.
announced about Shopify and Etsy as a starting point, but like they're kind of hinted at like the idea of what Google Shopping did 20 years ago. They're
Yeah.
kind of leaning more towards that method for now at least. But like the best product schema, the most information, like the best tagged information is going to help you succeed much more quickly.
Yeah, I would think if you're a 20 to 25-year-old out there with no bills and you want to start a company, I would start a company that just catered to AI agents all in the back end. So you don't even have to make it pretty. You just have to make it easy for them to
Mhm.
get information out of whatever e-commerce or whatever, wherever. It doesn't even have to be e-commerce, out of a company, and present it to the AI agent in a way that the will please humans. So I would start that today if I were 20 to 25.
I'm
Anyway,
actually personally, I'm not 2025, but I actually am an angel in a company that's doing something similar to what
okay,
you just
great,
described.
great. All right. Well, I'm behind already. Anyway, let's start moving closer to 2025. So, what do you recommend people do if that's the world we're going to live in? And I can't deny that in 3 years, it might be two. Um, what what should brands be doing specifically in order to prepare that for that inevitability? Wow, I can't talk.
Yeah, so I think what the brands can be doing to prepare for a few years from now is actually really good hygiene for today, even. So it's not like it's just preparation. It doesn't have any effect on what happens today. So brands that understand like how people are going to retrieve information is not going to be like these really fluffy, long, keyword stuffed SEO blog posts like that. That's just like not relevant anymore. How people are going to receive information is like actually giving your information in a way that is easily consumed by both humans and by the agents. And so that's why you could like what you can be doing today is actually, like video and YouTube content. Really, like that's actually very easily understood by the LLMs and the agents, even more so even than sometimes images and other things like that. So leaning into what works well for your brand today. If you're really good on video and social media, lean into that. The agents actually love that. They're actually very good at understanding and seeing how human sentiment is like responding to like TikTok videos or YouTube videos. In addition to actually having, real humans be able to kind of understand, oh, this is actually a good product. I want to buy it too. So it's kind of like leaning into both because if you just focus on the agents today, you're probably missing out on actual human shoppers that need to buy your products today.
Hmm.
But as a brand, leaning into like what AI and these LLMs kind of prefer and how they retrieve information, how they like to consume information, all that kind of thing, that's going to advance over time. But right now, leaning into that in addition to catering to what we call your human shoppers is like very important to any brand.
Okay. And in the future, in 3 years, if you look out, do you see AI agents also looking at ratings, from trusted third parties, as part of that? And is there a strategy for that as well?
Yeah, this is the one thing we work most with on brands is that what they don't kind of get about this new world of AI search and visibility is that unlike Google's algorithm, which kind of had this understanding of a backlink profile, and they say you're good, so you're good, and we have this whole mesh network of like referrals like that doesn't exist in LLMs. They're much more meritocratic in that way, and that they're going to make their own decisions based on what they believe to be the
Yeah.
best decision in that moment. And so for
And based
them,
on what it
getting
knows
social
about you personally.
Exactly. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. And so getting that kind of social proof about you and your brand is so important, but it's not just like a bunch of like phony backlinks in a random like blog. It's
Right.
actually like getting humans on YouTube to comment on your videos and say, I like this, or having a Reddit thread that talks about the topic that you cater to and saying, well, actually, I use this product and it's great and it's authentic and real. So there's like a kind of various different pathways to doing that. But the idea of getting social cues and social like signals to the LLMs is actually not very easy. It's very complicated and
Yeah,
hard.
that's what
But like
I was
actually
wondering. How's that going to
so,
work?
so leaning into it, like basically doing the best you can with kind of getting like that human sentiment, I actually do believe that that will continue to affect how agents and AI in the future perceives your brand. Is actually how humans' reaction to, okay, well, like I had my agent buy this T-shirt, but actually I did like it, and I'm going to comment on a video or into their forums or something like that to
Well,
explain how
why
I liked it.
wouldn't
Like,
the AI agent from the seller side reach out somehow, some way, and get that feedback, um, somehow, some way? Maybe if it's Alexa, or maybe it's a robot in the home, or maybe it's just an email or text to you. It seems like they could probably get that information. Maybe it's too intrusive. I don't know. I'm
I
just
mean,
trying to.
in its simplest form, it's kind of already happening today. So I mean, obviously, when you buy products all the time, you're getting that email afterwards saying, "Oh,
Yeah,
like, did you like your product? Rate it." Like that, all that stuff that exists today. But actually, weirdly, like the brands we work with,
but that's not
various
visible
types
to
of
AI agents that are outside of that environment, is it?
So that's the thing. Like for us, we're seeing like for example, we work with a lot of medical practices. They have to
Mhm.
like they need to understand. Like, this is a great use case for like people go to AI to search the symptoms and whatnot. They want to make sure that they're
Yeah.
front and center there. So for them, it's like they didn't realize this, but like actually weirdly like Yelp reviews of their doctor's office matters because that's real humans complaining about the wait times or whatnot. Like
Yeah,
that's kind of stuff like they would
for
never in a
sure.
million years they care about their health grade score and they care about their different like like actual like physician and doctor scores, but like they never thought in a million years thought they had to care about Yelp. And I was like, no,
I
like the
know.
LLMs, they're looking at Yelp and saying this human does not like your
Right.
place because you're closed on Saturday or because you're like I don't know whatever it is. Like that actually matters. And so like leaning into that and making sure when your patients are happy, it's like, hey, by the way, like thanks for the grade on health grades, but can you also like leave me a Yelp review? Like that kind of stuff seems weird today, but that is going to matter more and more. And so brands that are leaning into this are really learning a lot, but
But how are
from
you
that
going to
feedback loop.
know if it's a human leaving the review or other AI agents working for the brand? How are we going to prove authenticity?
So today, a lot of these platforms require like human. They have some sort of capture or kind of human diagnostic thing to say you're a
Yeah.
human. Now, in the future, that's not going to be the case. They're gonna expect and require that the agents do it because it's going to be actually an easier feedback loop if they have the agent do it on your behalf. But there's going to have to be kind of like called guarded frameworks and guarded ways to do that, so they know it's not just bad actors or kind of somebody stuffing reviews. They have to be sure like you actually did visit that medical practice and you did
Mhm.
receive a direct link to this, and your agent actually replied to that direct link, and your agent actually was the one responding. Like there's going to be that system again, that kind of system of like guardrails and like authentic actual responses that's being worked on today. It's not really like easily solved, but this is something that like the really smart companies are actually thinking about very
Yeah.
heavily. We actually work with quite a few cybersecurity companies that are dealing with this. Like they're like using us for various reasons, but their like whole thing is understanding how to make these agentic systems be able to like work the way we want them to work, but also in a framework where it's not going to be, like bad actors trying to stuff things like that. So
Okay. Well, we've covered two legs so far. What else should brands be preparing for now uh, in order to be front and center in 3 years when we have this agentic society that's, you got the bots working on your behalf in a very intelligent, smart way.
yeah, so I think at its core level, like I know that your audience is generally a little more technical, a little more,
Yeah.
kind of into this. But I think in a core way, a lot of brands what they're not realizing is just there are core fundamental things they can be doing now as a brand to lean into what the future will be. Whether it goes in like kind of various different directions, it's going to be like kind of heading in the direction towards this world of agentic buying. And so as a brand, you really need to understand like does AI like retrieve information differently? So we work with brands where they come to us and they're still thinking like 2007 SEO Google type world, and they're just not thinking about like how to kind of portray their brand in a way that matters to the AI. So we talked about this like social proof and third party validation of your brand is so important, and like as a brand, whether you do that like it doesn't matter kind of what path we go towards in the next couple of years, like that's going to matter more than ever. And so having a strategy for Reddit, for Quora, for these like kind of various review sites. If you're a software company, G2 and Trustpilot really matter. Like these kinds of things like really do and like matter. And so as a brand, just kind of at a core fundamental level, just making sure that you are thinking about this kind of are on top of the good hygiene around your brand and how it's being perceived outside of your walls. Again, it's easier to maintain like we're the best on your own website. Your own content's easy to kind of do, and there's a lot of companies that are focused right now on helping you kind of do that part of it. We're one of them, but we're like there's that's like I want to say it's easy. It's not trivial, but it's just like that's kind of what you need to be doing already. But
Yeah.
outside of your websites where people are kind of missing the boat on like what actually matters. And yeah, like it can be everything from like I said, like social media, YouTube videos, just if you're a software company and you are when you want to get views and you want to get into that Google AI overview, record yourself in a Loom doing a demo of your product. It doesn't have to be fancy, like really high tech, YouTube content, just like really good, high quality, like authoritative information dashed into like a 2 minute YouTube video is so much more likely to be like actually like achieved by the AI overview and can use as an answer to a quote. We actually work with a lot of brands. We help them do this. They get themselves booked on podcasts. And then those podcast interviews are actually used as AI answers to like how to answer questions because the podcasts are so geared towards obviously what answering the question. People love video content, so does AI. So as a brand, leaning into those things, I mean that's really kind of what you can be doing from like step one today.
Mm, okay. And is there anything else that you see potentially that's going to happen that brands and agencies and individuals have to be prepared for in this new, completely new society? Is the way I view it in 5 years for sure. Do you see anything else that they should be preparing for now. I mean, people, we have time to prepare, but less and less time. Let's just put it that way. Some of this stuff could just pop up and work right away, and we're just going to be caught off guard. Just like what's happened to marketing. You've got tools that are right at the point now where it's going to replace, whole departments. And, I use video and video editing and all sorts of things that just replace copywriters. I mean, there's not going to be copywriters pretty soon, unless it's very, very intense, narrow copy that AI just doesn't have a grasp of. Um, so in those terms, is there anything that brands, agencies, companies need to start thinking about implementing?
Yeah, so there's two things I want to touch on. So the first is right now as a brand, like if you're being smart about this, you're thinking, okay, how do I cater towards what ChatGPT cares about, what
Yeah.
Perplexity cares about, what Claude cares about, what Grok cares about, like what Google cares about. But in the future, we're not going to be all based like it's going to be much more of. I mean, even today, you can just run a deep seek model on your laptop. You don't need you're not going to be relying on these like kind of large, models that are kind of trained on the way they want to train. Like everybody's going to be training their own models. So it's not like you have to, right now, it's easy to cater towards Google or ChatGPT. In the future, you're going to have to think about how to cater your message towards like a more broad sense, like how these AI agents like to think and react to consume information. So right now, the technology is what it is, and we kind of get that. But as the technology transforms, brands are going to have to be on top of how to make sure that their content and their information is readily accessible to these. I mean, if it's LLMs, great. If we move off of LLMs towards a different kind of type of system, like great. Like we'll learn all that in the future. But right now, just kind of being aware of that is really important because it's going to change like how we try to kind of get our brand out there. So that's step one. But step two is actually you mentioned it, like copywriters are going to probably go away, but novel, unique information is still very valuable. That is what humans can gather. And yes, AI will assist humans in gathering this research and gathering this information. But the smartest brands right now, they're thinking about it. It's like, okay, so if I just regurgitate what the AI already knows in my content, like I'm not going to stand out. I'm not going to, how are they going to know to use me or kind of refer to me other than, call it external social signals, things like that? Like you need to have novel information. So are you going to run like a study? You're going to run customer testimonials. You're going to figure out what is actually working and actually get real good human data that can feed into these AI systems. That will still matter. So the brands that are actually doing extremely well and will continue to do well are the ones that have unique information that you can provide, because that's how the LLMs will help see how you stand out from what could be like a lot of noise as it comes easier and easier to to vibe code your way into a competitor in a crowded space. And so we see this all the time with ChatRank. Like I'd say like we have legit business, and there are plenty of others like in our space that are legit businesses. I'd say there's probably not more than a dozen. There's probably 200 that were vibe coded last weekend that say they're competing with us and they have a nice demo, but don't have any real information, real kind of like clues to kind of feed to a agent or to a human that says like they're relevant or interesting or kind of differentiated. And so that's where I think brands that are kind of smart about this are realizing already, like having real customers, having real actual feedback, having real data to provide to these systems will help you stand out and get ahead. That's a human thing, in addition to kind of feeding it into the AI systems.
Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing more and more people using LLMs for search than Google. I mean, I've got to believe it's dropped off. In my own personal case, about 80%, but I'm sure, let's just say normally 20%, 30%, but it's just going to increase as people get more and more comfortable with asking AI to find things. And when AI agents get into the picture, it's going to be, you know, game over Google. But at least Google has Gemini results, and they're not bad. I kind of like them. So I still use Google for that. So they did a good interim move in putting that in place. But in terms of discoverability, it's good to know what you think and what we need to do as agencies, brands, and individuals in order to be able to be discovered. Because when you do an AI search, you could ask it to give you three or four companies to go work for, to hire, or three or four products. But it's not like Google where you can keep scrolling to see if there's something else. You got to appear in the first answer,
uh,
and it's good to know how to do that and how to prepare for it.
yeah, I mean, so Google's also not dumb. Like, I mean, I listened to Sundar Pichai this summer. I think he was on. Yeah, I think I listened to him on Lex Fridman or an interview, and he was talking about how like they're right now. just slowly transitioning AI mode feature by feature into Google search to the point where like I don't know if it's 6 months or 2 years, whatever it's going to be, like Google search will just become, AI search. It's trending towards that anyway.
Yeah.
And so like everybody knows this is kind of the people like answers, not scrolling through blue links over and over
Yeah.
again, page after page. They want the answer. And so you're right. As a brand, when you to basically make sure that you are one of those, call it top three, top five, top eight. Usually we see the cutoff be around like somewhere like the top eight is where you need to be as a brand. Top three is obviously preferred. Like that is what you need to be doing. And like kind of growing in that ranking, growing your visibility overall is super important today in these LLMs, whether it be like you said, Google's AI overviews, whether it be ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, et cetera. And so, I mean, that's what we do at ChatRank is helping brands kind of identify, learn what that brand can be doing that's they're uniquely capable of in their industry to help them kind of shoot to the top. And again, it's not just boring generic content. It's actually like, figuring out what people are thinking about, what people are asking about, understanding what that is, and then kind of leaning into how AI likes to retrieve information and get that social signal out there so that you are climbing the rankings kind of like in a smart way, but also in a very validated way too.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Well, that is about all we have for today. Just in summary, you guys have to start thinking about preparing for this. I mean, there's already some steps you can take. You've got to keep your ear to the ground because the wave's happening faster than it did with search engine optimization and SEM. One thing I will say is I'm 100% confident there'll still be sponsored results. So even if you're asking ChatGPT or Claude or any of them, they're going to have sponsored results for products and businesses. I don't see that going away because that's how they make money. But still, you want to be organically, you want to be in the top 3 to 5 recommendations. And, John did a great job of kind of outlining what he sees today. And who knows, it could change. Maybe the algorithm's different in the future, but that's what it appears to be now. And so you guys have to be prepared for that. Honestly I think there'll be agentic websites that look totally different than the ones humans view, and they're just optimized for AI agents. And if they're not, then the AI agents aren't going to come. So that's another thing you got about a year to start thinking about. Okay, so with that, John, tell us a little bit more about what your company does and how you help people become successful.
Yes. So ChatRank it's at chatrank.ai. We are really helping brands kind of be that cult. We're calling it the brand command center. So really understanding who you are as a company, as a brand, and what you want to be perceived as, and helping you kind of gain that trust in the AI models, make sure that they see you that way as well. And so you'd be surprised how often brands say, "Oh, I do this, and this, and this is what we put in our sales decks." And then you go ask like ChatGPT what they do, and it just has a completely different answer. And so they're like, "Oh crap! Like I need to figure this out." And so like that's what we help brands do is kind of understanding if they're going through a pivot, if they just kind of changed recently, if they want to make sure that their branding is kind of appropriate for how AI likes to retrieve information. We help them optimize their websites, help them produce the additional content, help them go get themselves placed into other sources through like different PR efforts and like different things like podcasts and video content as well, social media influencers, getting yourself out there into these Reddit and like social sites like Reddit and Quora review sites. It really kind of, it's not like contained to just like one thing. We work with brands, both we have a software that you can just use. So you can just sign up and use our tools to kind of understand and track yourself and figure these things out. We also have a managed service that's more of a white glove. And that's really where the smarter brands are kind of using our expertise and kind of working with us to actually grow that way and help them kind of transition their brands. And so we're super open about the kind of working with different types of companies. Like I said, it's not just like B2B SaaS. It's a lot of direct to consumer, e-com, medical practices, like you name it, we worked with it.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show. Please do go to chatrank.ai and sign up for a free account and see, I'm sure there's some value that you get just for signing up. But if you feel like their services will help you prepare for this future, then by all means engage. All right. With that, John, thank you so much for being on the show.
Mark, I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun.
Likewise.